Something huge is happening in Austin when it comes to the schools, and a lot of people are now talking about it. AISD, one of the largest school districts in Texas, just announced a plan to close 13 schools, and they're going to redraw 98% of the attendance boundaries and completely reshape how education works across the city. And yeah, this isn't just about schools. This could impact property taxes, it could impact property values, and the future of the entire neighborhood structure in Austin. Really, I want to go through today and talk about what's happening, how Recapture system actually works, because that doesn't get talked about very much, and then what this means for property values, and then for students in the Austin area as well, what the boundary change means, what the 13 schools are that are going. I'm Jeremy Knight, your favorite Austin realtor. Look, I have spent a long time, yes, I'm a realtor in Austin, and so many people in the comment section are so offended that a realtor would talk about some of these things, but I think it's really important that I live in this community. Yes, I moved just outside of Austin, but I have so many friends and families that I've helped buy in homes across the city. So when boundary changes that they bought into schools change, it affects them and it affects you. So we're going to talk through this. But first, I really want to talk about what's happening behind the scenes. And at the end of this, I'm actually going to go through and show you maybe some sites that'll help you look up how your school is being affected, how this area is being affected. And if you ever want to reach out to us about your home's value, and maybe this will hurt or help your home's value, our information is always in the description, so you can find our information there as well. So AISD has a massive budget problem. They're projecting a almost $20 million deficit, facing a 17% drop in enrollment over the past decade, down from 84,000 students to 70,000 students today. That means thousands of empty seats, aging buildings that cost millions to maintain, and fewer dollars coming in per student. Now, what's really interesting that I see about this is I've done a ton of videos about how people are migrating out of the city center and migrating out of AISD. And I'm curious, what are your thoughts? Are people actually moving out of AISD? I personally am one of those people. I lived in Circle C. In fact, I'm going to talk about Circle C because it's one of the highest rated school district areas in the AISD district. If you're going to look at niche, or if you're going to look at greatschools.com, it's usually one of the highest rated areas. But I had to move out of there because I was looking at going to private schools, and it was hard to get into private schools at the time. And if you're one of those people, you tell me in the comment section, but charter schools have taken up. A lot of people are talking about school vouchers. I'm curious, why do you think more students are not going to AISD schools? One thing that maybe people aren't thinking about too is the average person is waiting longer to have kids. So maybe that's also a reason. And the average age to buy a home has actually increased from 33 as the average to much higher. So I'm curious, do you think it's a whole bunch of reasons all in one, or is it one specific reason? You tell me in the comment section. But this fix, they're going to close 13 schools. That's 11 elementaries, 2 middle schools, and an international high school. They're going to redraw nearly every attendance boundary in the district and repurpose campuses for specialized programs like dual language or Montessori's. The district says that this will save about $25 million a year, but the real reason is a little bit bigger than just savings. And one thing we didn't talk about is that recently AISD schools got a lot of really low grades from the STARS and the MAP tests. That actually put some of these campuses on notice. 7 of those campuses, though, are up for closure, are on the list of the 12 district schools that are state deemed academically unacceptable over the past 3 years. These 3 unacceptable ratings require the district to submit a plan to improve academics. These plans could include closing the school, handing operations over to a charter school, or complete overhaul of the academic system. I'm curious, do you think that that's probably why they're looking at closing some of these schools? You tell me. But here are the schools that are closing: Barrington, Becker, Briker Woods, Dawson, Maplewood, Oak Springs, Palm, Ridgewood, Sunset Valley, Wyden, Wynn Montessori, Bedichek Middle School, and Martin Middle School. International High School would also close as a separate campus and would move to Navarro Early College. So I'm curious, do you think that all 13 of these schools should close? Because these are up for closure. And in fact, I'm going to tell you at the end of the video about how you can get involved if you want to keep some of these schools or try to get involved in maybe the redrawing. Because in Circle C, I got to see the upheaval of so many angry people about the changing of lines, because a lot of those people bought in those neighborhoods to go to specific schools, and they paid a premium to be in those schools. I'm curious if you're one of those people. So let's talk about the Recapture program. Really, it's called the Robin Hood. This is how it works. Texas funds schools through local property taxes, not just state money. So if the district has high property values like AISD, they're considered property wealthy. When your property values go up, your district collects more taxes, but instead of keeping it all, the state takes a chunk of that money and redistributes it to districts with lower property wealth. And that's what's called recapture. And AISD pays more in recapture than any other district in Texas. Now, I moved to Dripping Springs ISD, and Dripping Springs also spends a lot of their money back to the state as well. But this year alone, AISD is expected to send $941 million, almost $1 billion back to the state. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the recapture program, because a lot of this money sent back to the state could be given back so we can fix some of these issues. Or maybe you think this AISD really needs to look within and do some of these changes. You tell me. But that's more than the local tax revenue they collect straight back into the state. So even though our property taxes are high, AISD doesn't even keep most of it. That's why they're desperate to consolidate. Fewer schools equals lower costs, less strain when half their revenue disappears into recapture. And let's be honest, there's schools that don't have a full school. They're running with not full students, so they're not getting all of the tax revenue for those schools. Here's where it kind of gets a little complicated though, is that Austin homeowners just went through county tax increases, and now the city of Austin is holding a tax rate election for a $6.3 billion budget. I've talked about this on the channel. In fact, we can link the video right here, but that means your tax bill is almost guaranteed to rise, but AISD's financial situation might not improve because of the recapture. Even though the district cuts schools to save money, you might still pay more in taxes and the district will still struggle. It's a vicious cycle with higher property values, higher taxes, more recapture, less local funding, school closures, potentially lower property taxes in some areas. Now, what's interesting about these is that the county did raise 9%, and they basically said, hey, look, we had a natural disaster and the flood that just happened, so we can raise to 9%. That's gonna hit most homeowners about the average price, about $200 extra per year. And then the city going up is gonna be another at minimum $300 if that vote gets passed. That's $500 additionally a year just from those taxes in a year when property values have actually gone down. If you follow this channel, we've showed that there's been a trend downward, except for the last month. It was the only month that we've actually seen a year-over-year positive all year. Values are going down, which means that you should be able to lower your property tax. And unfortunately, you are not. And this is where I get to talk to a lot of my clients who are frustrated. They're looking to buy a home and the taxes are really high. Why are their taxes this high? Well, a lot of this stuff gets voted on and then the homeowners foot the bills. Now, there are a few things that I'll actually put in the description and the different websites to look at. In fact, we'll show some of these here in a second that show the redrawing, but let's break down some of this and how it might actually impact values. Real estate and schools are tightly connected. Buyers, especially family buyers, pay a premium for homes zoned in top-rated schools. Multiple studies have shown that homes in an A-rated zones sell for anywhere from 10 to 25% more than comparable homes just a few blocks away. But when a school closes or has a zone shift, the premium can actually disappear overnight. So instead of going neighborhood by neighborhood and actually telling you whether an area is going to go up or an area is going to go down, what I want to do is talk about some of these school closings, and you tell me in the comment section when I talk about each one of these, do you think that this will actually go up or go down? Because the reality is, as a real estate agent, I can't really talk about schools in a negative way or a positive way because I can't get in trouble with our local rules and our MLS rules and our Texas real estate and all of that stuff. So I want to make sure that you in the comment section telling me whether these are good or bad. Bryker Woods in Terrytown. Bryker Woods, it was a top tier school. It's slated for closure. And so a lot of these families are going to be moving over to Matthews or Brentwood zones. So I'm curious, do you think this transfer would actually help or hurt some of the families in this area? What I've noticed about some of the boundary closes as I went through this is it will make complications for people going to different districts. I'll go through an example of Circle C in a moment because Circle C is what's close to me. I know Circle C the most. I'm curious if your school is being impacted by this. I want to know what your thoughts are. Zilker and Bolden. So Becker Elementary is closing and students are moving to Zilker Elementary. So Zilker has a strong performance score, as you can look on Niche, and a great reputation. So I'm curious, do you think this will create more demand for the Zilker area? You tell me in the comment section. Now, Ridgetop Elementary, that's closing, and students headed to Riley Elementary feeding into McCallum High School. Homes around Ridgetop and North Loop could see some hesitation from buyers, is what I'm thinking, but you tell me. If Riley gets investment and the scores climbs, then the area could stabilize pretty fast, but you tell me what's gonna happen in the short and long term. So if we look South Austin, Dawson Elementary is closing and rezoning into Galendo Elementary. I don't wanna get into the school district information there, but you tell me, is that gonna cause some problems? I don't know, with home values there, right? Will some home values go up? Will some home values go down? So let's look at East Austin. So Windsor Park and Pecan Springs, Maplewood Elementary and Wynn Montessori are both on the chopping block. Maplewood has a huge community following, so its closure will be felt in Windsor Park. I'm curious what you think will happen in that GoVal area, because Campbell Elementary and Wynn Montessori program would move to GoVal. Maybe become a hidden gem? I mean, you tell me. The interesting thing that's for me is down in Sunset Valley Elementary. Under the Pope's plans, students would have to attend Sunset Valley Elementary, would be zoned to either Cunningham or Boone Elementary. Now, I don't want to get into the market dynamics there, but that would be definitely a shift. You're gonna have to look at the school ratings there because, again, I can't really get too much into it. Betachek Middle School, this closure is a possible change for South Austin and western part of the district. Students from Betachek would be rerouted to Covington, Paredes, Lively, and Mendez Middle Schools. Becker students would be rezoned into Zilker Elementary, with an especially in that dual language area. So one thing that I want to talk about just strategically, so one, which was close to me, was that there is a middle school, Grozitsky, right, in Circle C. A lot of those students are now going to go to, I believe it is Bailey. So you're looking at neighborhoods like Gray Rock Ridge. You're looking at neighborhoods like Avanya. Those are going to go rerouted, and actually getting there is way harder than what it would have been just to get to the other elementary, because one way is a toll road and the other is like a 1-lane road down this past a high school and a 1-lane road to get down there. And so I think for some of those people, I've seen them complain. Number one, they think the prices of their homes could be affected by it. Number two, I've seen a lot of people really upset that that's like just logistically a lot harder to get there, and it doesn't make sense for some of those people. So I'm curious, do you think the logistics of some of these could be a problem? The wild card is that AISD says it could sell, lease, and repurpose the closed schools. If they sell to developers, it would build mixed use of homes that fits the neighborhood. Values might rise because of that, or they might not. I mean, you tell me. But if these buildings sit empty, they could be an eyesore and they could be bad for the community as well. So I'm curious, do you think that some of these areas that are closing schools, do you think they should just sell them to developers and develop more density? What do you think they should develop? But in the short term, this creates uncertainty, and the market hates uncertainty. Homes in the affected areas could see slower sales and more negotiations until buyers understand the new boundaries. Over time, the value will follow the new, what people deem as good schools or better performing schools. If a receiving school becomes a new high performer, that's where the premium could in fact move. And remember, if your home's zone change from a top rated school to a lower one, your property value could potentially change. I don't know, but you tell me if you think that would happen, and if that's a concern for you. I would hate to think that investors are going to take advantage of that, but there's something also to think about. So here's what we should do. Check your address in the Austin AISD org/consolidate to see what's changing for you. Number two, if you're selling, be ready to answer buyer questions about school zones and future plans. If you're buying, look beyond current boundaries. Ask agents what's coming and how it might impact you long term. If you're a parent or homeowner in these areas, go to the community meetings in October and definitely pay attention to the board vote on November 20th. Look, AISD is facing a real problem still. They're caught in a system where property values are skyrocketing, but half of those taxes are being sent to Recapture. So these closures make financial sense on paper, but for families and for homeowners, it creates winners and, I don't want to say losers, but unfortunate situations. In the next few months, the school premium in Austin could be all over the map. So I'm curious, how do you think this is gonna impact you? Overall, I hate making videos like this. I really wish I had a much rosier message, but this is the reality that Austin is facing as it's facing all of these growth and people moving outside like myself. I guess you could say I'm part of the problem because I left AISD. So you tell me. I'm Jeremy Knight, your favorite Austin realtor. Look, do me a favor. If you are somebody that is very concerned about buying in the Austin area and you want to have really good information, I've got a whole list of agents I work with in my brokerage here. I'd love to put you in touch with them to make sure you're getting the right care and the right person that can actually tell you about these things. Subscribe. That's the other reason too. All right, we'll see you next video.